Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SouJava channel. So my name is Maximilian, and today we are having an awesome guest right now. He will talking about JBang is amazing tooling regarding Java. I think that it will bring a lot of value for our community. I will switch to Portuguese because I know that we got a huge audience in Portuguese audience. Okay, so I will switch right now. Olá pessoal, tudo bem? Bem-vindos ao canal do SouJava. Meu nome é Max, eu acredito que a maioria de vocês já me conhecem. Nós temos um convidado muito especial aí que vai falar sobre JBang, é o Max, é o meu xará. Ele vai trazer uma talk muito interessante, a gente já vai conhecer bastante sobre esse framework, acredito que vocês já devem conhecer, que é o JBang. Bom, eu vou voltar para inglês e vou trazer o nosso convidado aqui, tá? Mas aí vocês, se estiverem aí no chat, pode falar de quem vocês, da onde vocês estão falando e assim por diante. Okay, let's switch to English. Okay, I will bring right now my guest Max coming. Max, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
So,
hola.
hola. Oh, in Portuguese, olá. It's very,
Hola. Sorry.
yeah, that's
Oh,
okay. No, no, oh my God, no, I can. You are.
yes.
It's a honor to me to having you here talking, especially because I believe it's so much in JBang. I think it will bring the most values for our community, especially the beginners on working with Java. So if you are in the chat, please, everyone, send us where are you talking, where are you watching us. It's very interesting to see. We can see in the chat, Igor is watching us from Dublin. You are where are you right now, Max? Right now.
I'm in a way too hot Switzerland.
Oh, oh God. Near to me. Sorry,
Yeah.
Brazil, South America. Oh
Yeah.
God. Oh,
Yeah.
Thiago Mateus is talking from Campinas. It's a city down here in Brazil. Leonardo Segala is, I think Segala is in Brasilia. Is Brazil capital? I think so. Am I right, Leonardo? Can you tell us what if I don't did any kind of mistake? But okay, I don't want to spend more time. I think Max wants to wants to get started. Am I right, Max? And
That's good.
I will put your share screen, and this stage is yours. Doing your show, Max. Thanks again,
Thank you.
very much.
Okay. So I'm sharing my screen and you let me know if there's problems. Um, I will talk about getting started with Java today. This is a talk that takes about 30 minutes. But any questions you have, I talked to Maximilian. You just ask them, and we can do them through the show to make it a bit more interactive. So please ask away. Is there any questions or ideas or concerns? We have about an hour, so let's make some good use of it. So yeah, so getting started with Java is something that interested me for a while. But just to set a baseline, like what are the things that are hard about getting started with Java? And I made a post to Reddit, learnjava, which is I followed for a while to see what are the issues people have. And I had a kind of assumption what the big issues they had. There's a few things that comes up again and again. So for example, there's this guy, Jeffrey Charles, says, well, compare hello world and Python. It's just print hello world versus all this stuff, like public class, static units, system out print line. There's some arguments that you could even have a package. That'll be an issue. Or not an issue, it's very verbose, right? Another one is like, what's a JDK? How do you get anyone installed? What's the runtime? What's the compiler? Where's the path? Maven directory structure. All the boilerplate again. These are just things that if you are a developer, after the first year or two, you probably just kind of have this as things you know how to do. But I'll tell you, one of the reasons I made Big JBang was I was away from Java for a while. I spent more time on Go, and I actually took a whole year not doing anything with coding. And I came back to Java, and I was like, man, there's a lot of things I forgot that you have to do to get started with Java. It's just kind of, you just get used to it, and then you don't see it. But when you come back and you become a new user, you're like, oh wait, that's a lot of complexity, especially compared to other ecosystems today. And then there's the fun one, which again, like people think, oh, this is easy to do, but it's not for a beginner. Once you learn the syntax and the code, and you compile thing in the IDE, you go like, how do I make a jar? What is a jar? Why do I need it? Right? Um, so all these are kind of repeated patterns I saw, and what I've done is I feel like getting started with Java. Oh, the JBang way, as I call it, solves a lot of these things. And here is a little demo, recorded demo, where I'm running in a Docker container that has no Java, no JBang, and I just install it. And you can do this on Windows, Mac, etc. But it's just Docker to example. You see, it actually detects there's no Java. Let's go and download a default Java. In this case, Java 11 is the one we have as the default. And it sets it up, and you have to restart the shell. So I do that by sourcing the bash shell. And now I have JBang, and I can write my first piece of Java code. So -c for code, print line, hello world. So about the same length as the Python example. And we run it. There's a few lines printed out. These are JShell that prints out first time. But you have it. It's hello world. I've done the first piece of Java. And then I can even use arguments to this little snippet. And we just change this to JBang and run it again. And voila, I have JBang on my machine. I've been writing Java within, I don't know, 30 seconds. Oh, 1 minute was this, what all it took here. So what happened here? Well, I ran curl. It's one of many ways to install JBang, and got it installed. This will download and configure JBang to be available on your system. And if no Java found, it will download Java 11 for you. And this is available everywhere. So this is the website of JBang. You'll see there's tabs for Mac where you can use curl, SDKman, homebrew, manual install Linux, the same thing, Fedora, RPM-based systems. Also, SDKman, and Windows has a bunch of others, just like this group. And there's all Docker images, GitHub Actions, Maven, and Gradle plugins that you can use. So JBang is available literally on every place you can run Java. It also runs on Raspberry Pi, that kind of thing, if you want to. And I'm trying to hide this thing. There we go. Then I can click. There we go. Voila. So yeah. So and then I can run code. So when I have JBang-c, I print line hello world, and off you go. So what happens there is, and I can do the arguments too. So what happens here behind the scenes is -c evaluates code via JShell. And I want to highlight here, JBang is not a JShell wrap, or it's not requiring JShell. You can use Java 8 that has no JShell. It's just that if you're on Java 9 and above, and you have JShell available, we will use it for these kind of things. It handles use arguments, which is something that JShell doesn't do. So that's an interesting feature we do. And mind you, there's no files to create, so you can get started easily. You can explain a student or try out without having to have an editor. You can touch Java code immediately. And there's no public static class main to think about. You can start by just writing normal, like just statements. Is the only thing you have to learn. And you can also go into interaction mode directly. If you run Python today, you end up in interactive mode. JBang has the same thing. It requires a -i to do so, and you start up and you can write code as you used to. Again, nothing special here. The magic comes that, hey, if I want to do some kind of Java that is not the one I have, I can just add that as a --Java 17, and now I'm running in a Java 17 version of JCL. And you can do this all the way up to 19, which is the incubator version now. And once 20 come up, you can do that. And technically, JBang could run on Java 6 too, but I just, out of principle, I didn't want to go all the way back. But from Java 8 and upwards, you can use JBang. So I said we didn't have to create files to get started, but of course, once you want to do development, you want to have files and store your programs in there somehow. So initially, JBang had an initializer, which just creates a file. And there's nothing magical about that file. It is just Java. We'll see in a few seconds how it looks like. But what it does do is insert a few lines of code that or comments that makes things magically work, so to speak. It tells you. Oh, is there a question?
Hey, Max.
Yes.
There is a question. JBang works with Java 8. Alien has asked. I think so. Am I
Yes.
right?
Yes. So JBang works with Java 8. It doesn't do the JShell feature as I talked about because in Java 8 there's no JShell. But all the other stuff I'll be talking about here shortly also works with Java 8.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
and so that was it. And I actually did that deliberately to make sure, because at the time I started, Java 8 was the biggest one. Now Java 11 is probably winning. But I want to make sure that JBang could be used by even the schools who are using older version of Java could use something like JBang, or corporation for that matter. So I create the file. It will explain to you as a user, like a newbie, like how to use this if you want to. Because that's actually one of my pet peeves. Like when you use Python or Node, VM, etc., you create a file, you don't know what the next step is unless you have a guide next to you. So we try to at least get these first steps to be documented and self-explanatory, and give some tips on what to do. So anyway, I'm gonna run it. So JBang Hello Java works on every platform that JBang runs on. It just tells JBang run this thing. It's called Hello Java. It will build the jar and run it for you. And you could do this with a single, like since Java 10, I think, you could add, or it's 11, single file scripts in Java, but single file scripts can't do all the stuff I'm going to show you. And the first version of JBang was built on it, but I realized, then I can't work with Java 8. And there's a lot of other stuff you can't do, like multiple files. It doesn't work that way. So anyway, I'm running this. It builds it, and then it runs it, and it says hello world. And you'll see I can also run it as a script. So the ./hello Java means that this file actually has an executable bit set, which is one of the things that init does. It makes sure that you can run it as a script. And then you'll notice that it prints out hello world. So why didn't it do a build a Java jar this time? Well, because it realizes this is the same file that I would build a jar for, and it's there. So it goes faster. If you change the hello Java, it will recompile that file again. Beyond that, you can also initialize with templates. So the default template is hello world. That's not very fun, but it's there. But you can also say JBang units-t for templates, and CLI is a template that defaults comes with JBang. And it's what it does, it generates a Pico CLI application. If you don't know what Pico CLI is, it's an annotation-based library that lets you parse the command line very easily and give you like default help and versions and that kind of thing. So again, it tells you what to do with it. In this case, I'll show you the code because it's a bit more interesting than the world. You'll see the first line here is a comment. Oh, sorry, it's three things basically in one. First of all, it's if you put a slash in the first line of a bash or C shell script, that bash and C shell will treat this as a command to run. Two slashes, then bash and C shell still thinks it's a command to run, but Java treats it as a comment. And three slashes, that's Windows. When you run Bash and C shell on Windows, it will treat that as a unified path and then run it. But the magic is that this is not Java doesn't get disturbed. Bash doesn't get disturbed by all of Java, and vice versa. So this is a little hack we do to make these scripts. But it's just it's a nice thing. You don't have to use scripts. It could also just be full Java apps. Okay. Okay. Whoops. The next one is /deps, which is shorthorn for dependency. And this is, if you know Kscript and other similar tools that does exist now, they have a similar syntax where we use the Gradle syntax or shorthand Maven syntax to say, hey, I want the Pico CLI GAV of this specific version. And now when JBang runs, it will know that. So when the compiler goes ahead, it can compile this stuff with the add parameters, which is a Pico CLI command or a Pico CLI annotation. And if you did this with Java single file, it will fail unless you manually download a dependency and put it on the class path, and I don't know what. And again, for students, that is just like impossible to deal with. So JBang removes all that extra. So yeah, so what happens when you run dependencies? So again, I could do JBang app.java, but I'm just using the shorthand running it directly. And you'll see it resolved dependencies. This is just one dependency, so it's easy. And then when it's done, it then builds the jar and run it again. And again, this is not, oh, hey, this is the same thing as before. You add a dependency, that's not fun. But if you run it again, which is the so-called cast run because I didn't change anything, add that's a help. Now you'll see that the output is something that Pico CLI does. So this is, again, just showing that JBang hides all the complexity about dependency management and anything. You don't need to do that up front. You need to know about the code you have to write. You need to know about, you have to get a package to get it. But those are concepts that are common and fairly easy to, incrementally tell people how to do. But we removed all of this complexity up front. Okay, so editing the JBang way is, I call it very simple. But the simplest way is you can do JBang edit the app. And what we will do is we will scan the path. And if there is an IDE command that we recognize, like VS Code, Eclipse, or IDEA, we will ask you, do you want to use that by default? And you can even choose number one here, which is download run with coding, which is what we would do automatically if no other option is available. But what that does is it downloads a version of VS Code with all the common Java tools, the debug tools, etc., pre-configured. So you don't need to learn how to download that IDE and configure it. It's just done for you. And you see here's an example of that Hello World app in there, and I can content assist and do all the Java editing things you're used to. But mind you, I didn't have to do anything to make this work. And that trick of JBang edit, what I call it trick is because behind the scenes, what we do is we literally create a full Java product with a Gradle file, a built Gradle file that all these IDs can run or open, and with the script. And it works in Visual Studio Code, Eclipse, IntelliJ, Apache, any NeoVM, Emacs. As long as you have the IDE tooling installed, it will just work. We also have more. Oh, that a question?
Sure, sure. I have a question from Leonardo Segala. How to deliver an application created by create with JBang? How can we deliver? I think.
Yeah, I'll get into that in a few minutes. But basically, there is an install command too.
Okay.
But I'll get into all those two in a few minutes. So yeah, so JBang edit is kind of tricking the different IDEs to understand that this is a Java product. But we also added support in IntelliJ. There's a contributor who made this that literally lets you reuse a single JBang file as something IntelliJ can understand. And we are working on Eclipse and Visual Studio in the same way. So you don't even, you can, if you want to start from the IDE, you can do that too. Okay, so another thing, debugging. And again, JBang Way is an interesting part here. So the old way or the standard way, I'm gonna claim that none of you will be able to give me the command line by hand from memory how to enable debugger in Java. It's like dash x agent suspend something ports. It's a long command line. In JBang, the command is this: JBang --debug. It will now run the thing that's on the right side in debug mode, and it will open it on 4004. So any IDE that has Java support, you can connect to it, and you can now do debug. That's all there is to it. And yeah, that's it. There's nothing else you need to do debugging in JBang. So what just happened? Well, if you take the JBang way, in 5 minutes or less, at least if you remove all my talking, we created and edited, we ran, and we debugged a Java application. And we did not have to learn about Java, the Java runtime, or the Java C compiler. We didn't have to know about Maven or Gradle, directory structures. We didn't need to know which VS Code, Eclipse, IntelliJ to install, or this IDE. We just had to learn how to install JBang, and these commands were available to you to get started. Right? So that is, for me, the power of JBang, and it's something that's funny when I tell people they see it. Some people see me like, this is awesome, and others like, nah, that can't be true. But I encourage you all to try it. The video I showed it was not lying. There was real time the steps needed to get started. So let's go a bit beyond and explore what's there besides just getting started, which was the first part we did here. And yeah, we as traditional, we go the JBang way into the dark cages. And I already show you can use JBang C and do print hello world, but you can actually also do like one-liner scripts in Java now. So just an example, I'm here, cutting the printing out this text file with 5-letter words in it. And you'll see that it calls lines. Lines is a default method we provide that takes whatever's in the input and turns it into a stream. And then this is just normal Java Stream API. You filter it. If the if the element contains a dog, then you can print them out. And that's it. And this will print out all the 5-letter words in English that has the word dog in it. And just go completely the other side. Also write a microservice. So I'm the co-leader Quarkus, so therefore I'm going to use this example. But you could also be using Spring Boot or Jetty or Vertex or other kind of frameworks. But with JBang, the Quarkus experience is even more fun. So again, I'm using a template that's default in JBang called QREST that will generate a Quarkus REST service. And when I run it, I'm running a Quarkus app with all the goodness that Quarkus now can bring you. And that code looks like this. Again, same thing. You have the env JBang at the top to do the scripting thing. You have dependencies. One thing to note here is this is actually using a bomb palm, it's called. And when that is detected by JBang, it will set it up as a managed dependency. So you don't. Quarkus actually understands the notion from Maven and Gradle. For Maven, it's called the managed dependency, and for Gradle, it's called platform. And yeah, JBang supports that too. You can give it options to Java C options. This parameters here is something that's unfortunately is required for annotation processing to be able to to figure out what method names are correct in the parameter. And I can even mount files. So here I'm saying that the index.html file should be mounted as resources like index.html, and sources that star Java, just take all the Java files that is there. So I can actually include multiple Java files. Um, at the time I made this slide, I didn't have multiple support for files. We have that now. So you can actually change this to resources slash star HTML equals just no, just don't mount anywhere. Then it will include all the HTML files you have under. The other way around. Resources slash equals star HTML. Then it will load all those files in. So that means with JBang you can write full-blown microservices with multiple Java files, multiple resources, and yeah, this is just a Quarkus example. Um, but that means you can write full-blown applications in Java too, in JBang too. Um, and then I've just talked about like single JavaScripts and now multiple files, but JBang is not just about this scripting. It's also about making it easy to run all the things that are there. So you already talked about running commands on the command line directly. I can run a Java file. We talked about it a few times. I can also run a JCL file. So if you know how JCL works, you can literally write a JCL script and run it from JBang. And you go like, why can't I just use JCL? Well, you can, but what JBang does, it handles passing in system properties, command line arguments, dependencies. All that stuff is not available in JCL. JBang wraps JCL in that way in this case. And then JBang app jar will treat as a jar. So you notice a pattern here that the JBang, what it has on the right side of its command, is decides how it behaves. Right? So we look at what it actually is before we do something. So in Java, you have to do Java dash jar to run a jar, um, and you can't just do Java and Java. It's a bit complicated. In JBang, we just kind of say, hey, we have all these conventions. Let's just use them to make things simpler. You could also run a GAV, so a group artifacts version, like a Maven artifact. Org JReleaser 1.0, really is another product that I like. And any Maven artifact that has a static main method in its jar can run. Also, no, a static, a main class identifier can run directly. You can also specify stuff like different repositories or different main methods and all that stuff. But in its pure simplicity, we can run Maven artifacts. I can even go and run a GitHub UL. So this is too wide for the example, but you could have any kind of Java code anywhere on GitHub or GitLab, etc. You just take the URL that you browse to and put it in, and JBang will find the code. This also works for gist, for example. So if you have a multi-file gist, there's a Java file in it, JBang will find it and run it. You can even run URLs. So this will actually run something from JBang Dev. It will actually look for a /main.java. But this means you can actually provide. You don't have to use GitHub or anything else to share applications. You can literally just give them, upload it to your website and say, hey, run this in this directory and this URL, and off you go. And I will tell you, we don't run anything that gets fetched remotely. We do ask for permission to run first, and you can then say always trust or always ask me every time. But yeah, so it's not like we're running random things. We run it if you say yes to it. So, another question?
Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting that people is interacting as well. Okay, Leonardo also asking, how JBang have solved the dependencies with third-party libraries? How JBang resolves the dependencies? I think that
Yeah,
you covered it later. Am I right?
yeah. Well, not so much in detail, but what we do is we read all the depths in the files or on the command line. We collect those dependencies and then we use Maven to resolve it. We actually use a library called string wrap that just makes a layer on top of Maven, but we use the Maven resolver to do it. So it should behave as any other Maven or Gradle kind of project. So the actual tool we use it is a library called StringGrep that behind the scene uses Maven Resolver. Not You don't have to have Maven installed. It's using what's it called? Uh, I forgot now. The Ether is called Ether. Is the library behind it, but which is the library that Maven and Gradle and others uses for resolving dependencies.
Yeah, there is another question. Is possible
Okay.
to run JBang? It's possible to run JBang with with Spring Boot. Spring Boot? I think so.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No. So JBang has there's no hard coupling to Quarkus from JBang. JBang is a generic tool that can be used to run anything. It's just that with Quarkus, the way Quarkus work by having this notion of build time phases, um, it just fits very nicely. So yes, I will show you Quarkus, but if you want to use Spring Boot, etc., it works. And there's even someone who made integration so so Spring Native works with here too. Yeah,
I think it was my fault, Max, because I didn't mention about your position right now in a head work and a Quarkus team, and
sure.
I'm sorry about that. I think that it was my fault. So, if you want to present yourself, please do it. I think it's one of my fault. Sorry about that, man. Okay, but
No
that's
problem.
there's
Yeah. So for those who don't know, I'm co-lead on Quarkus. That's another product I do. That's my primary work. JBang is kind of my side project. But I just want to underline, JBang has no dependency on Quarkus, and you can write anything with JBang as long as it's a Maven dependency, which Spring Boot is. You can do all the things I've shown here. And yeah, so there's like this is standard Java in all sites and options. Okay,
okay.
so other
There is
questions?
another question, another little
Yeah,
question. Edu Vex, Eduardo asking us, how can we run? How can you run a real URL? What this should have to work with GenBank? How the
yeah,
files are defined, like jar, class, Java? I think that you mentioned a little bit
yeah.
behind of
Well,
URL prefix.
yeah. So well, since you're asking, let me just copy that thing. And I'll show you, and you'll see
Who
what
knows
happens.
do alive? Am I right?
Yeah. So it will run. And this is actually so it's printing the contributor list from JBang. This is what I made that do. Um, but what it actually does do run is so when we see a URL that has it's just a naked URL. What we actually is downloading is this. I need to make this a follow. And you see, so I uploaded a main Java file that does some, download stuff. So that's how it runs the URL. Um, and it's I actually in the early version of JBang I added this thing of running a GitHub URL. But I also ran. You can also run tweets. So if you have a tweet that has Java code in it, you can actually do it. And I did it more like a fun thing. But then unfortunately, Twitter changed their so you can only run. You can't access Twitter without having JavaScript enabled, which is annoying, or having an API key. So I thought, well, what's another way I could run things? And I realized, hey, sometimes you don't have access to GitHub, or you don't want to, you don't have the right name on the GitHub to do things. So, oh well, just make it. You can run a URL too, and what it does is just like there's no file specified. I'll look for main.java, um, and that's the same thing if you run jbang dot. I was like run this directory, it'll do the same thing. It'll run the main file that is there.
Oh,
So I hope that
thanks
explains
for
what that was.
yeah, yeah. The people on the chat saying thank you for the answers. So I will let
Cool.
you take it away, man. Away.
No problem. Yeah. So sharing is caring, and this is I'm not sure. Well, this is unique feature. Well, I haven't seen it elsewhere actually, but so I can run all these different URLs, but you have to remember them, and it's they can be long, binary, that kind of thing. So I wanted to have a way to. I don't want to be JBang Dev to be the only one you can publish scripts from, right? So we come up with a thing called JBang Catalog. You can either have a repo called JBang Catalog or a file called JBang Catalog JSON. So you can add this to any Git repository, GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket, any of those popular ones we add support for. And this lets you do things like this. So you can run what we call aliases. So you can have JBang env at JBang dev. So this is this little thing here. So when JBang sees this env like something at something else, well, it's kind of like an email address, but it will say, "Oh, let's go look at GitHub. Is there an org user called JBang Dev that has a JBang catalog, or is there a GitLab one or a Bitbucket one?" And once it finds one, it will load it, and if in there there's an env alias defined, it will run it. So this one actually exists. So there's actually JBang Dev / JBang catalog that has this in there, and what it does, it prints out environment variables that Java has access to. In the same way, there's JBang Minecraft Server at Microsoft, which is a catalog that Microsoft made that has the Minecraft server. So you can run the Minecraft server with JBang, which is Java. It's a jar, right? And you can imagine this can be done for anyone else to do. And of course, then besides that, you can have in the catalog, you have aliases, you have templates. So you could make a template that shows off your specific framework, but all the dependencies set up, that kind of thing. So on Quarkus.io, we have a GitHub app, which basically sets up a Quarkus application. It has the dependencies to we have some GitHub integration Quarkus, and you can just get started. Spring Boot could have a Spring JBang catalog. JReleaser, and there's a bunch of people who has that already. So anyone can do it. They can set up. It's literally there's no cost to do it. It's just a file in a Git repo somewhere or a website, and you can browse this on our App Store, which was a joke I made 2 years ago, and then accidentally made it a real thing. That you can go to the App Store, which is on JBang Dev to App Store, and you can see there's what we do is every I think every 8 hours we scan GitHub for JBang catalogs, and you'll see there's people who've done, like we have our Quarkus, there's a bunch of Quarkus stuff. I think there's even a Spring Boot projects. Yeah, some of these are actually very new. I haven't seen before, so that's cool. Linux China is the guy who did is from working from Alibaba. He's doing the IntelliJ IDE, and I know he's done a lot of Spring stuff like Spring Cloud, etc. So yeah, there's all these kind of ways to share and have it in the App Store. Another thing we've added recently is ability to source files. So we had the -c where we can run a command, but doing a one line of everything in Java, yeah, it's still verbose. But how you set up dependencies, you can do it on the command line, but you realize, hey, we have this catalog. We could just make it so that if you do JBang-s, you will take that, download it as a source, and then load it into your application. And it means you can refer to these as, in this example, I made a faker example. Java Faker is a library that can generate fake data. Right? So I create a fake.js that has the dependencies. So this could be any dependency, right? So it could be a Hibernate or Spring Boot or whatever, or multiple of them. And then I just import the code as necessary, and then I set up a faker instance. And again, this could be multiple lines, whatever is there. But the idea is I can then tell a user, hey, here's the way you try out my new API faker, which is not done by me, but as an example. You just say JBang faker JBang dev, and now you can run it. And this code, if you want, like, it's just using faker's code to print out from a stream of random full names. And you can, of course, you can just add a -i to this, and you can interact with it in JSON if you want to. But the idea is to be able to just give users a predefined setup. Say, hey, if you add this, then you have this setup, and you can do things out there. Okay, and now we come back to, there was a question about how do I install these things, or how do I make an app with Java, with JBang? So first of all, I don't have a slide for this specifically, but JBang builds a jar, right? And it is literally just a jar, and you can do with that jar as you can with any other jar. Publish it to Maven, upload it somewhere, give it to someone, all the stuff you used to in Java. No problem, right? So there's nothing special about them. And if you want the jar on this, we have a command called JBang export that will give you a jar, and it'll be, you can have it either as a jar with no dependencies, jar with dependency on disk, or jar with dependency on a lib directory and that kind of thing. So all the standard things you can do with jar is available for JBang too. But we wanted to go one level further and do like a JBang way, and that is that if you know from other ecosystems like pip install, npm install, that kind of thing, we have that too. It's not called JBang install; it's called JBang app install, because we have more than one command for that. But basically, you can take any jar. It doesn't have to be JBang. It could be something you made in Maven or Gradle or handcrafted somewhere, and just say, hey, take that jar and install it as an application. And you can take that to extreme and make that jar something that a catalog points to, and install that. So this is what we actually do in Quarkus. And again, I mentioned Quarkus because I know that it could be anything else. But in Quarkus, we have a Quarkus IO catalog, and in there, there's a Quarkus alias that points toward the actual jar, which is built by Maven, by Quarkus. Like, they don't use any JBang in that scenario, but JBang allows you to install any kind of Java application. And once you have that installed, you can run Quarkus and have that installed for you. And that's actually how we do the Quarkus CLI currently. That it's available via JBang app. So you can. So I want to be clear. You can do this with any kind of scripts or any JBang script if you want to, but it's not tied to JBang apps. You can JBang app install any Java jar or any Maven artifact out there. Okay, where's the next one? It's not going to the next one. Whoops, sorry. I got lost in my slides. I'll go back. Yes, so anyway, I want to get to the conclusion here. So for me, JBang is the best way to get started with Java. At least I haven't seen anything that gets close to how easy it is. And I'm actually also claiming it's easier than any of the other ecosystems out there, Python or Node or whatever, because I don't know if you've tried recently to install, or even Go for that matter, to install one of these on Windows, right? That is hard. You have it on Linux and Mac, yes, they're available. On Windows, these are not true. They're not true. And always, like, they have to have Ruby environment manager or npm env or whatever they are to isolate things. With JBang, it's the same approach on all the platforms, and it works in isolation by default. So you don't have any of that, overlapping kind of thing. And if you want to be fully isolated, you can even run JBang as a wrapper, like Maven wrapper or Gradle wrapper. JBang has the same notion. So The default experience, I believe, is the simplest way to get started by far. There's no instructions besides just, hey, follow these, just run this command, and from now on you can just do JBang init, JBang run, JBang edit, JBang debug, JBang app install. You don't have to learn all these extra things, right? So, and it lets you write anything from one-liners to like full-fledged Java microservices in Quarkus, Spring Boot, Vertex, Helidon, Micronauts, whatever you want. Um, and it enables you to run and install Java apps. And these are not JBang apps; these are Java apps. Again, you can run as long as there's a jar. JBang will do it. And it has have an app store, as is very popular. And this leads to the end of my presentation. I just want to highlight the JBang Dev App Store, and I haven't noticed this, mentioned this, but we actually also have support for Kotlin and Groovy in the same manner. It's still, I marked it experimental because there's some features that might not work as smooth, but it's there. And so if you're a Kotlin or Groovy fan, try it out and let us know if it works. Even these slides are actually made with JBang. I'm actually running ASCII Doctor with a Reveal.js plugin, and JBang has been running that ASCII Doctor jar to generate this slide, and it's actually running in the background right now. So yeah, that was my presentation. And any other questions?
Oh, it's an amazing presentation because it brings a lot of a different way to see how can we works, how can we develop Java application. It's before that we can learn Maven. Need to learn Maven. Need to learn Gradle. We need to learn build stuff. So it's very interesting. I saw sometimes that we can run. Markdown file as well. Am I right? I don't know if
Oh
I'm wrong.
yes,
So
that that
if
is
you it's
that is
very
true.
interesting. It's interesting because you can develop a documentation, a little documentation regarding utilization about a specific API, and then we can run it with from JBang. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
I love it. This feature, of course, maybe it's not so secure as well, but uh, otherwise,
I'll
it's awesome.
actually. I forgot. Oh, I didn't forget, but actually, let me show you the. Yeah. So this is a Markdown file that has code in it, right? And I'm just gonna take that URL, which is a README Markdown, and take it to where's my JBang here. And I can't even remember what that code does, but it shouldn't be too dangerous. I'm just gonna take a thing. It's gonna run it automatically because I trust. Yeah, you see, it has dependencies and runs it with JBang. It's a figlet, which is generate this kind of string here. But yeah, if you look at the raw file, it's literally just Markdown, and what we do is we just grab out the Java and JShell and and run it through, uh, which is yeah. Not I tried to make sure we could run anything, any kind of way you can share Java. I want JBang to be able to enable in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a open source project, so we can jump it on and in order to learn and to contribute as well. Am I right? So I
There
have
is
been seeing
definitely.
the issues on there, and I'm trying to probably I will reach out to you after later because I need to understand a little bit, and because its project is awesome. I want to contribute as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I must say we wouldn't. Where's my? I have this. There we go. There's Taco and me is the main guy behind it, but we have a ton of contributors, and yeah, some of these are just small changes, and others are big changes. But yeah, definitely welcome any kind
oh,
of
Bruno
contributions.
Borges is a Brazilian one as well. I can see that.
Yeah, he's the guy who
Interesting.
did the app store. Sorry, not the app store. The catalog for
Yeah.
what's called for Minecraft. And I actually think Bruno was the very first. He was the very first contributor because
Oh, really?
he contributed some examples in the JBang example repository. So yeah,
Oh, awesome, awesome. So the people in the chat is saying that JBang is awesome. Neto Devil is said that JBang is awesome. Awesome. Yes, it's awesome. I really like it. I will explore more your repository in order to understand how those things works. It's very interesting. I
yeah,
invite to everyone to jump in and they realize the repository and make this project be relevant more than it is. I think so.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I
Make
must go ahead. Sorry.
no, I just say like try it out. It's literally as easy as I showed, and any little utility you write, put it in an app store or share the URL on Twitter, then people can run it. There's no
I have a little question for you, Max.
sure.
Regarding the, we have been seeing that another languages have been used on the DevOps and the automation behind the scenes, and
Yeah,
regarding Go and JavaScript, you're using Ansible and another tool to provisioning and something like that on behind the scenes. Do you think
yeah.
that JBank can put powerful to the Java to explore this area as well? Because I can
Well,
see that JBank can bring a lot of power of Java behind the scenes. W-
it
w-
definitely can, and I actually have two. I have an old example and I have a new one. Let me just find the. Where is that one? Oh, no, I can't. JBang Java. Let me just find my example here. Yeah. So this is actually a cube. If you know kubectl for managing Kubernetes clusters. This is actually using Fabricate and becomes a client. Sorry, a plugin to kubectl. So you'll see you can run here uh, pod list. You can also do kubectl pod list. So you can use because with this I enable Java to be used anywhere, like plugins to these different tools. But I actually did something recently. I don't have a working example of this. Um, but if you know the tool called Pulumi, where do we find this? So I have it here. So Pulumi is this. I have no association to them. I just find them interesting. Is that they made a? It's like Terraformer, but instead of a specific language, they support. Where's the list? I have a. Oh, don't they have the list? They support like sorry, there we go. Right, TypeScript, Python, Go, C Sharp, Java, YAML. And their Java default examples actually requires Maven and Gradle, and I thought that was annoying. So in the latest release, they actually added the merge support for JBang. So
Oh,
you can
awesome.
actually, so you can do Pulumi new JBang, I think it's called, and it will create a project that has just these three files: the main Java, and Pulumi YAML is the standard Pulumi orchestrator, and JBang properties is just a marker file to say this is a JBang project, and that's it. And now you can use Java as powerful it is in Pulumi. But yeah, so your specific use case literally just became a reality last week. I think this was March.
Oh, great.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. We got another question from Igor de Souza. Did you know or remember any interested example with Raspberry Pi using JBank, something like that?
Yeah. So there is the guy who, what's it called? Yeah, the
Yeah,
guy.
Igor did. did a lot of talks in SouJava as well,
Yeah.
bringing Raspberry
So
Pi with Java
yeah. So
going together.
there's Pi for Java product. The guy behind, no, I forgot his name. This guy, Frank Del Forte. He shows, actually has a video of using the Pi4j libraries to work with the Raspberry Pi. So you'll see, I think he has here, like, there's an example of using the Pi4j Raspberry Direct API. Another example, there was a guy who, I don't know why, but he had a fireplace that was managed by like his home automation that runs on Raspberry Pi, and he wrote that in JBang. Um, if you use Minecraft, not Minecraft, what's it called? The Lego, the robot, the
Oh,
uh, uh, why can't I remember the name now? The
I don't remember the name right now as well.
the Lego, the old, not the newest because that's running a limited Python, but the old one where you had access to, you can install your own Linux on the thing. What's it called? Mind Lego Mind Tech. I don't know. Anyway, there you can do, you can use, it's literally, it's not a Raspberry Pi, but you could, it's the same principle. You can either run it directly on the unit, or you can build it outside and then just export it as a jar and upload it to that robot. So there's all kind of funny things you can do here. Where you, another one I did was, actually the reason why I got into this for students was, my kid was 6 years at this time, and he loves Minecraft. And I was like, hey, Minecraft, they are very popular as Java. They write extensions, and I was surprised at all these different places that uses Minecraft. They have like 4, 5, 10 pages of how to get started with Java before they get to the how to write plugin. So I actually have a product on JBang Dev that shows you how to write or how to run the app server, the Minecraft server, and how to build a plugin, a Minecraft plugin, and it's like two lines. Sorry, it's 2 or 3 command lines you have to do, and that's it. No need to set up Maven or Gradle or Java or IDEs. It's just all there. So no, there's a lot of potential, and if anyone wants to have students or play with this and make an example for this, I would love to hear about it because yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't,
Oh,
yeah,
Albert Belmiro said in the chat, Lego Mindstorms. I think so. It is.
Mindstorms, yes,
Yeah.
very good, yes,
Great, great. Thanks,
yeah,
Albert. Albert helped us a lot.
yeah,
Thanks. So, well, my kids are addicted to Minecraft. So if I can do something like that, I can't watching TV anymore in my house. As they
yeah,
loves to play on video
yeah.
game Minecraft.
So
So
it's been a, yeah, just, so if you go search for JBang Minecraft, there's an example that I made, updated a year ago. Should still work. Um, but if you want to try it out, then yeah, it's there,
oh,
and it works.
okay. You try to figure out because it's a good opportunity to let them works. Well, my oldest son likes to explore extensions on Minecraft. Oh God, we are
Yes.
get out of the subject. So let's
Yeah.
bring it on, Bang. So I must thank you, Max, about this presentation. So it's amazing too. So I think that our audience love it. I think so because regarding the messages I saw that the people. Uh, oh, I just received a message from the with I don't know if you can see the chat, but um, with with this syntax, I think that he's mentioned about Java 11 and Java 13 plus. I think that the coordination the coordinates to JBang downloads the JVM version. How to set it and use the GraalVM automatically? It's possible.
So Are you talking about like using GraalVM as a JVM or for the native image? I guess he's using Java. So um, here's the way to do that. Let me give an example of it. So how do I do this? So JBang has support for managing the ADKs, but I keep it very simple. So I don't have automatic support for downloading the RVM. I, and the reason why I don't is because I haven't found out a good way of expressing it that is not cryptic. But if you want to use it, there is you can do stuff like this. Let me see if I can find an example. Um, uh, what's it called? Home. Yeah. So you can do this. JBang JDK install. Let's say I want to do install 17, and I don't remember what it is, but let's say you have another command that can install Guardian. I think it's the Guardian something. Um, this will actually tell JBang, hey, please install GraalVM via SDK man. And sorry, no, take the direct home directory that the GraalVM from SDK man is and use as Java 17. So now if you use JBang 17, Java 17, it will use GraalVM behind the scenes. So it's not exactly what I think you were asking for,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I think that I think that he asking if we can point in the application to use GraalVM instead of another kind of
yeah,
JVM without
yeah.
changing Java home.
So so right now, what JBang does is it will, if you have a Java available in your system, it will use that by default. So you could have GraalVM as your default Java and will use it. But if you wanted to, that you can share like a JBang, like a Java file with truffle that requires the GraalVM. Currently, you can't do that. You'll have to tell people to install GraalVM first. I do. I have all the mechanics to do it, but I'm just looking for a way to express it that doesn't make it complicated for everyone else. So not yet, but you can. If you have GraalVM installed on your machine, you can use it with JBang. There's no problem. Just not the automatic install.
Okay, so well, it's open source, so maybe if someone brings some ideas to.
There is a GitHub issue for that exact feature, for being able to download other. What we do, we download Adoption, the Open Adopt OpenK by default, but you can also use, or like we use the what's called the Disco API, which is this generic thing you can download all these runtimes. So we could do it for Gra and others too. It's just this is the issue is always like, how do we make it so it doesn't make it complicated by everyone else? So yeah, there is an issue. You can search for it. I can't find it right now, but and if you can come up with a good idea, then it's definitely it's technically very doable. So
Oh,
yeah.
great. Thanks for the answer. I must thank you, Max, for your presentation, for your time, for spending time. We are talking about 1 hour, so I don't know if you need to go out, but I think that
Okay.
it's it. That's it. If you want to say last words, please do it.
No, yeah. As I said, like, try it. The best thing you can do with JBang is to help me share the word, because I meet people that says this is awesome, and then I meet people that are like, no, I need my Maven Gradle. That's the only way you can do Java, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, there's more. And remember, even if you don't want to do the scripting part, you can use the catalog mechanism to make, you can share any kind of application. You don't have to find a way to publish all kind of things. Just, upload it somewhere. As long as it's jar, you can share it, and JBang makes as a thing you can install. Um, so yeah, try it out, share it out. That's the best way to get it in.
That's it. That's it, everyone. So I must thank you guys for watching us and to believe in this in this session. I'm very it's an honor to having you, Max, and I I hope that you join and you have fun like me. So
I did.
see
I
you in the
did.
next time. See you next time, everyone. Bye bye. See ya.
Bye bye.